This conference will now be recorded.
No. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me properly? Ulrich,
Yes.
is this okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I get funny noises in my, but if you can hear me well, that's fine. It's 10 o'clock sharp now, and I would like to open our meeting today. You are seeing the title towards a 74% paper recycling rate in 2020, challenges and opportunities. And I would like to welcome all of you attending for somewhere in this strange world. I hope all of you are healthy and will stay healthy. On the next slide, you will see the signatories of the EPRC monitoring report. That is what we are going to present today. But first, a few other items. After we finish our meeting today, you would automatically receive a copy of the report. And we would also like to record the meeting and distribute it afterwards, the recording to you. Is anybody disagreeing with that? Then please raise your voice now. Otherwise, we will continue with the recording. I don't see any objection. I'm hearing somebody, but not understanding. Well, I don't see any objections, so we'll record and we can go on. There are two more issues I would like to mention. We will try to finish no later than 11 o'clock. And whenever you have a question, please write it into the chat. It makes it much easier for the discussion at the end. And Rustem, can you please close your microphone? There's a very strange noise in my head. Okay, now let's start. What are the topics for today? We will look at some numbers and of course the results of the report, but also we'll target a couple of questions. One is the EU has increased its target for the recycling of municipal and packaging waste. And where do we as EPRC stand in the on the 2020 commitment based on the latest data? How will we reach the 74% and what are the barriers in case we don't reach it? The second point will be Europe's trading partners for our paper recycling are changing. We will look at the exports and the changing role of China. The third one will be how can the EU Green Deal initiatives and new eco-design measures contribute to increasing paper recycling in Europe. And last but not least, we will have a look at the consequences of the COVID outbreak and the following economic results and what it means for recycling. May I introduce at this point Ulrich Leberle, well known to you as the paper recycling specialist, who manages the secretariat of EPRC, as well as being the raw materials director of CEPI. So Ulrich, it's now your turn to talk about figures and introduce some of the results of the monitoring report. Please go ahead.
Hello, good morning, everyone from Brussels. We have an interesting question series to answer today, and I will directly go into this first question. Where are we in relation to the objective that we have set ourselves as a value chain in paper recycling? And we have the target 74% by 2020. The monitoring report that you will get after the meeting will show the progress, and here you see that we have the 72% reached in 2019. That is still away from 74%, but in absolute figures, that means that 57 million tons of paper have been collected and recycled. Those are 17.5 million tons more than at the beginning of the declaration. You see the dark the gray bars there, and that shows that 88% of that recycling takes place in Europe, so in European paper mills again, and the light gray is the 12% that are recycled in outside Europe. So that paper is bought by extra European paper mills to be recycled outside Europe. The balance of fresh fiber and recycled fiber is shifting also more to recycled fiber, and where we reach now more than half is based on recycled fiber, 54%. The question, do we reach the 74%? Of course, that is the declaration. And it is while it's a bit early to say that, based on the first half year of 2020, we can already see some tendencies, and we will come back to that in the discussion on COVID consequences. But we see that the paper consumption in general is declining, and that while the collection and the use of paper for recycling is rather stable, and that means that we have a fair chance to get into a corridor around 74%, even if it's challenging to reach the 74% as we declared. We have to keep in mind that the theoretical maximum is not 100, it's 80%. So that we are already getting very close to what is actually theoretically possible.
Well, thank you, Ulrich. These are fantastic figures, but it also shows we have something to achieve, and we have to find more applications for recycling. And I was discussing with Ulrich before we had our meeting today, and I said, what are the examples? Where is real progress taking place? So we looked at it, and there's a high level of innovation about the substitution of plastics or EPS by paper products. Of course, we all like that. We can see progress as well on improving the outcome of fibers from recycling. A lot was lost in the past, but also developing innovative technology for the treatment of more difficult papers that are not easily dissolvable, like our award winner this year, the Pulping Technology Company. And there are many others. Innovation has many faces, and I especially like the idea that brand new paper can now contain other fibers than wood. There are technologies available where you partially subsidize wood by fiber of textile, or even with residues from grapes. Prost. And recycling is a matter of educational programs as well. Our award winner this year was Ticket. I love the name, Ticket, and it means trees into cartons, cartons into trees. And it was from Procarton, and they have introduced an educational program for schools that is worth looking at it. So look at the homepage of Procarton and you will find it there. And it's really great educational progress that I hope can be copied by others as well, because the idea is relatively simple. So a lot of, is going on out there, which makes me confident that we will even reach higher paper recycling rates in the future. Ulrich, now we go back to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Angelika. So we have mentioned the very stable recycling in Europe, but 88% are recycled in Europe. Only 12% are exported and recycled outside Europe, and you will see here that how this is changing. On the left, you see a graph from 2017, where 2/3 of paper that was leaving Europe went into Chinese paper manufacturing, and with very low shares of other countries. And this has completely changed. On the right, you see that China is not even anymore in the top 5 export destinations. So China has announced that they would become more independent from secondary resources and waste from other parts of the world. And they have actually done what they have been announcing. And today these volumes are going into other countries, but at a lower level. So in 2017, the EU 27, and that is not including the UK, exported 4 million tons of paper for recycling, while in 2020, in the first half, those were only 2.8 million tons. So exports are going down, more is recycled in Europe. Well, we go on the next question. So you can at any time put some questions already in the chat for our Q&A session afterwards. But I will continue on the next block, which is the Green Deal. You are certainly aware that the Green Deal contains a lot of elements for the circular economy. There will be also a new circular economy package. The packaging directive, packaging and packaging waste directive, will be revised. There will be initiative on green claims, and I think the question here, so which puts packaging a lot into the center of debates again. And we see that we have in paper a very high packaging recycling rate already. So close to 85% of all paper and board packaging is recycled today. And you see that is higher than all others. And more interesting, I think, even is that if you compare the absolute volumes, so the tons of material recycled, paper and board is more recycled than all other packaging materials combined. And I think that is something to keep in mind if we want in the future, and if the Green Deal wants in the future to increase recycling, well, this is the sector where those recycling rates are really highest. Then I would like to give one example, and if we can go to the next slide, please. So we have one example where the EPRC is having some members that are more involved in packaging, and those have joined forces to work together on guidelines for designers and for retailers and brand owners to how to specify their packaging design when it comes to recyclability. And so SIDPA, FEFCO, CEPI, and ACE have published in 2019 these guidelines for paper-based packaging, where specifiers get to know what to do when they need laminates, for example, or what adhesives are better recyclable than others, what inks to use, and so forth. So it is a document that is a lot downloaded, and you have the link here as well.
Yes.
And then Angelika, you wanted to come in?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I will finish soon. So I have one more to cover. That is actually the question that many of you also had before the meeting. What is the COVID crisis doing with our sector? And there are different aspects to that, and I will start, and then Angelika will continue. I will start again with some figures. So we have some comparison between the paper manufacturing and then the general manufacturing sector. And so if we look at really the time in the first half of the year where many countries went into the lockdown, we see that manufacture of pulp and paper and board has been contracted by 3.2%. But compared to total manufacturing, that is less than half. So our sector has been more resilient than others, but even more so in specific subsectors in the paper value chain. So manufacture of packaging papers has even increased in this time by 10%. And also sanitary and household, you had a lot of news about people stocking these kind of products at home. So that has also increased during that time. And these are sectors that use a lot of paper for recycling. And so paper for recycling overall has been stable, because a lot is also used in the graphic sector, and the graphic sector has strongly suffered in the COVID crisis. Yeah, so that is the figures, and with that, over to you, Angelika.
Yes, I think it's good to hear. In a way, we are first in class in many aspects, and I think it's nice to work for such an industry. But the COVID was affecting recycling in some other ways than you described from the outcome, and it was because there was a change in collection, and when industry came to a halt in the first part of this year, of course the collection from industry also came to a halt, and it was not immediately replaced by the collection from private households. And I remember some municipalities here in Germany that were going to reduce collection of used papers, and that of course disturbed the flow of input into our industry. So I think we are all working in a paper industries where using old paper and thus contributing to recycling is vital. Both our production and consumption are used to recycled materials, and in our industry, in the corrugated industry, we have an 89% of input into paper is old paper, is used paper already. So we depend also to a high degree on the flow and on the circle. We are contributing as an industry to circularity. We are really, as I said before, first in class, but also we depend that the flow is not interrupted. And when it is interrupted, we very quickly come to shout used, and we have a problem, because it's not easy to switch from the processes to fresh fibers for a variety of reasons. So our raw material are the bales of used papers. And we want every fiber back. I've said that many times. In time, forming the true circularity and exploiting as much as possible to increase the recycling rates. And
can hear her. Oh. Angelika,
we don't hear you. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I was speaking to myself the whole time.
No,
I'm very sorry.
20 seconds back, maybe.
Yeah, okay. I made a mistake. So let's see. I go to the end. I think the main things were said. We want every fiber back. That is something we can say in our industry. So we will do everything in order to increase and secure the recycling circle, because when interrupted, we have a problem, and we need to have this circle ongoing in order to continue our production of recycled papers as well. And we are determined to reach the goal of 74% and even more if possible. My passion ends here. Now it is your turn to ask questions. You have been listening from somewhere, and I would like to take your questions. I'm seeing in the chat we don't have anything, at least in my version yet. But if you open the mic and open the camera, we are happy to take your calls and your questions. So please go ahead, and thank you also for listening to us. And I hope this will also contribute to a success of the recycling project we all have together. Thank you. So, any questions?
Thanks, Angelika. So on our, while others are thinking of more questions, we see at least one from the chat from Angus McPherson. about the data, the EPRC is including the UK. So in the monitoring report that you will receive, the coverage is EU 28, so including the UK plus Norway and Switzerland. It's just on these Chinese question, this is Eurostat data, and so there we have shown only EU, because in 2020 UK is not anymore part of it. The range, so UK is exporting roundabout as much paper for recycling as the rest of the EU together.
Okay. Any other questions? It seems we have done a very good presentation, Ulrich. If there are no questions left, must have been a good job.
I think so, but we actually have another one also
Okay.
on
I'm not seeing the chats for some reason, so you need to lead there.
So some the questions can be either put to the whole group or just to one. So apparently we get them here.
Okay.
But you don't hesitate to put the questions to everyone. So there was a question from Steve Emmington about the 1.2 million tons exports that are less going to China, and the question, where do those go? So the main destinations are actually stay in Europe. So material stays more in Europe, but then India, Indonesia, and Malaysia are then the main countries that import more from Europe, and that corresponds to those tonnages that used to go to China.
Well, now I see a comment from Janusz to all of us. Of course, Janusz, you are right, but the quality is also a question where the municipalities and the collectors have to be aware and do their job as well. Ulrich, any comment from your time, from you?
No, I think you said it. Indeed, it's a shared responsibility of, and the municipalities, as Angelika explained very well, they became also then aware that you cannot interrupt that collection in a sector that depends so highly on paper for recycling.
Okay, any more questions, or if you have something in your inbox?
Yes, we have one from Luc Lana, and he is asking about the work on the EN643. So the EN643, it's a standard, and it's actually so the standard of grades of paper for recycling. It is sort of the constitution in paper recycling. It describes what kind of material can be taken by the paper industry, and so this is work that many of the EPRC members are involved to adapt the standard to the changes that we are seeing. We have a transformation in the products that people use. More plastic products are replaced by packaging, by paper packaging products, and of course the standards are updated, and so Ingede and CEPI and others are very engaged in that.
Okay, I see two more questions in the, or three even in the public section. Natalie Schneegans is asking, what is the percentage of recycled materials coming from municipalities, from municipal waste? Ulrich, do we have that figure? I don't know it.
Yes, so very roughly, this is we have studied this, and out of all paper for recycling, 40% are collected from the municipal stream, so mainly households and small shops, etc. So 40% post municipal stream. Another 40% is from commercial and industrial sources. If you think about the big supermarkets and industry, and then another 20% is from offices.
Yeah. And there is another question, Agnes McPherson. You asked how collection had changed because I was cut off. What I was referring to was the municipal waste, where municipalities tried in the COVID crisis to stop recycling or to stop collecting because they thought it was not important. But I don't think it had any impact on quality or grades, as you are asking. Ulrich, maybe you know better. I think it was more the interruption of the recycling circle that was creating a big problem for a very, very short while, I must say. Ulrich, do you have any information on quality or grades? Did that have any effect?
I think in some countries some sorting centers were also closed because of hygienic regions for a short while, and during that time, then there was more mixed paper available than more specifically sorted, but that was more local situations due to the closure of sorting centers, and that is also a point to mention here maybe. So in the value chain, we believe it is better to have a very separate collection from the start, from the householder, and educate already the householder to really separate paper from the start. And if you don't mix it, you don't have to separate again. And that was one effect during the first week of the shutdown.
But it was a very short effect. It was not, didn't last long. Ulrich.
Yes, indeed. So that was a question of a couple of weeks. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. There's a question from Valeria Bus. Do you expect the price level for PFR to remain low in the medium, most likely range would be? I cannot read. In long term, given reduced export and oversupply in Europe. Ulrich, I cannot answer that question, but you can.
Price questions are always difficult to answer, so but maybe
dangerous.
We can give some, especially if it's about the future. But we can give some elements maybe. So the oversupply in Europe is a word that we do not think is correctly describing the situation. We have developed the situation was developed by a very strong demand in China from the year 2000s onwards. China had a very strong fiber demand, and one consequence of that was that in also in some European countries, collection systems have developed that are producing a quality that is not possible to use everywhere. But as there was such a strong demand, this was collected, and now China is very strongly reducing again, but it's not an oversupply. And on top of that, we have more and more capacities, recycling capacities built in Europe. That doesn't happen overnight. But that will absorb those tonnages over time. Now, what that means in terms of the supply and demand balance and the consequences of price, that is, of course, for everyone individually to make their conclusions.
Okay, thank you, Ulrich. Do we have any more questions? It's now the last chance. I don't see anything in the chat. Ulrich, you have anything in your chat?
Do we have more questions?
Yes.
Anything, Ulrich, from your side? I
Yes,
would
we
say
have
let's take one, maximum 2 more questions, and then we finish the meeting.
one more from
Yeah,
Gleb
okay.
Pinaraskis. What is your view about the effect of the rapid growth in e-commerce in relation to paper recycling in Europe? So there is, of course, an effect. So I think one is on quantity. So we have more individual packages. That also explains a growth in the collection of packaging papers, production, consumption, and collection of packaging papers. That is one. Second is that more packaging papers are collected through the household stream, and that means, of course, then these collection systems also need some adaptations. This is more bulky material than the neatly collected A4 office paper or newspaper, and that has some challenges. But I think people are also very well aware that these packages are part of the paper and board collection and can be collected, and we have to make sure that is done in a very convenient way and keep separate from other materials.
I think this convenient way will be a challenge when I look at what I'm seeing around my house here, which is an overflow of the bins which collect the paper. And if that is going to increase in the future because of a permanent e-commerce flow, I think we need to find new systems to react to these rising quantities. Okay. Ulrich, any more questions? Last chance now. One more.
There are 2 more in our chat.
2, but then after that we finish. Okay.
So one is from Steve Emmington about, are there any concerns about another possible shortage of material for cardboard mills because of COVID coming back in some countries? I don't think so. We have the experience of the springtime when indeed for a very short period of time some sorting centers were closed or collections delayed. But that was a time when this was a new phenomenon, and as people didn't know exactly how to handle it, people went the safe way and closed. I think now we have learned much more about how to handle the situation, and therefore I don't believe that we would have such problems again. And also I think it was there was a strong recognition that this is a very circular industry, and where the supply cannot be stopped over a very long time.
Okay, and you said there's another question. Thank you.
The second question was from Karl-Henrik Lundqvist. Please elaborate on the future supply and demand of UBC in Central Europe. So UBC stands for used beverage cartons. Future supply and demand, yes. We have several installations that can use this kind of material when it is also separate from the normal paper and board flow, because it needs some installation, some special equipment to effectively recycle it. We know that there is the consumption of beverage cartons. It's about 1 million tons. Half of them get collected, and there are capacities to use this material, and mainly in Central Europe, but also in other parts of Europe.
Okay, thank you, Ulrich. I think that's the point now. We have 10:34 on my computer. So we are far below the target that we wanted to finish the latest at 11. But I would like to thank all of you that listened to this presentation, to our report about recycling. You will receive, I think, shortly from now, the monitoring report and the recording as promised. And I hope that we all can work towards an even better collection and a better recycling of paper, because it's one of the big advantages we have in this world against competing materials. So thank you very much. And with this, I close the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.